What if everything that happens was meant to? What if the pain you suffer was not a detour, but the path? What if the heartbreak, the betrayal, the failure, the loss, everything that once made you question your worth, your timing, your fate, was not a punishment, but preparation? Welcome to Amor Fati, the most radical and liberating Stoic philosophy you've never fully embraced. In a world that worships control, prediction, and safety, the Stoics gave us a far more courageous command. Love whatever happens. Not tolerate it, not endure it, but love it. Sounds insane? In modern life, we're taught to resist suffering, run from discomfort, and label anything painful as wrong. But the Stoics saw life differently. They saw life as a fire, and every event, whether tragic or triumphant, was fuel for that fire. Amor Fati is not passive acceptance. It is active empowerment, a choice to find meaning, beauty, and strength in whatever life throws at you. And in this video, I'm going to show you how mastering Amor Fati can make you unstoppable. You'll discover why resistance causes suffering and how Amor Fati dissolves it, how to train your mind to embrace difficulty, how to build emotional armor so no setback breaks you, how to turn pain into purpose, loss into fuel, rejection into redirection, why high-value men embrace Amor Fati to lead, grow, and love more powerfully. This isn't just philosophy. This is the operating system of warriors, kings, leaders, and creators. By the end of this video, you won't just understand Amor Fati, you will become it. So stay with me till the end. This is where men are remade. This is Stoic desire. And here we don't run from life. We love it. Section 1. The origin and meaning of Amor Fati, from Rome to the modern man. To understand the fire of Amor Fati, we must first go back, way back, to where this flame was first kindled. In Latin, Amor Fati means love of fate. But this wasn't just a poetic phrase. It was a mindset forged in the crucible of war, exile, poverty, and death. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, didn't live soft lives. They faced betrayal, illness, imprisonment, and loss. Yet in their darkest hours, they found not bitterness, but beauty in adversity. Marcus Aurelius said, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." This was the root of Amor Fati, to be the fire that feeds on misfortune, not by force, but by frame, to see every event, not just as something to survive, but as something to use. That heartbreak, a reminder to build inner worth. That job you lost, a doorway to what you're meant to create. That rejection, a push from fate to grow stronger, deeper, more centered. You see, Amor Fati is the opposite of victimhood. Victimhood says, why me? Amor Fati says, why not me? And what can I make of this? Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest philosophers in history, was the embodiment of this. He said, don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. He didn't fight reality. He merged with it. And in doing so, he became untouchable. In the modern world, where we're addicted to comfort and terrified of uncertainty, Amor Fati is revolutionary. While others complain, escape, or numb themselves with distractions, the Stoic man leans in. He doesn't avoid the storm. He becomes a storm. And that's what makes him powerful. That's what makes him different. Ask yourself this. What would happen if you stopped resisting your life? What would shift if you loved every twist, turn, and trial as fuel? You would stop needing things to go your way, and instead become the kind of man who always finds a way. This is the mindset of a true Stoic. This is the power of Amor Fati. Let's keep going. Section 2. Resistance to suffering. Why control is an illusion. There's a truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The more you resist reality, the more you suffer. We are raised to believe that we must always be in control of outcomes, people, timing, and emotions. But life doesn't follow your script. And when it doesn't, the average man tightens his grip, fights harder, and spirals into anxiety, anger, and depression. This is where Amor Fati comes in, not as a weakness, but as an armor of invincibility. Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them." The Stoics knew something modern men are just beginning to understand. You don't control life. You only control how you respond to it. Let's break this down with a modern example. A man gets ghosted by the woman he's been dating for months. No closure, no explanation. Most men would spiral. What did I do wrong? Why doesn't she care? I need answers. Now he's trapped in emotional chaos. But the Stoic, he doesn't chase closure. He doesn't argue with the past. He doesn't resist. He says, "So it happened. Now what?" He sees the ghosting as a teacher, not a punishment. He doesn't fight the event. He uses it. Maybe it showed him her true character. Maybe it revealed his attachment. Maybe it pushed him closer to someone better aligned. Here's the point. The suffering wasn't in the ghosting. The suffering was in resisting it. And this applies to everything. The job you didn't get, the betrayal from a friend, the injury that halted your progress. Each of these could either break you or build you, and the difference lies in your judgment. Amor Fati is not passivity. It's not saying, "I like this pain." It's saying, "This pain has a purpose. Let me find it." It's embracing life not just when it's beautiful, but when it's brutal, and seeing meaning in both. The Stoic doesn't curse the storm. He walks into it. Why? Because he knows every storm is shaping him. And the sooner he accepts what he cannot control, the sooner he becomes free. Remember, control is an illusion. Response is your power. Amor Fati says, stop resisting. Start responding. Because the moment you stop fighting reality, you start shaping your destiny. Section 3. Turning pain into power. The alchemy of the Stoic heart. There's a secret the world won't tell you. Your pain is either your prison or your power. Every man is going to suffer. That's not optional. But how you respond to it, that's what separates the weak from the wise, the reactive from the resilient. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This quote embodies the soul of Amor Fati. Most people run from pain. They numb it with distractions, scrolling, drinking, validation seeking, even jumping into new relationships too fast. But the Stoic doesn't run. He doesn't numb. He transforms. This is where the true alchemy happens. The ability to take something meant to destroy you and forge it into something that builds you. Let's talk modern life. A man goes through a brutal breakup. She left him, maybe even betrayed him. His identity was tied to her, and now he's spiraling. But here's the key difference. The average man asks, "Why me?" The Stoic man asks, "What now?" He sits with the pain, not to suffer, but to study. He studies his attachment, his expectations, his mistakes, his dependency. He digs into the lesson, not the loss. And slowly, something incredible happens. The pain sharpens his focus. The silence strengthens his mind. The solitude rebuilds his confidence. He starts working out, not to get her back, but to get himself back. He reads, journals, reflects, not to escape the pain, but to evolve from it. He learns that heartbreak didn't destroy him. It exposed him. And now he builds better. Amor Fati teaches us that pain is not a punishment. It's a portal, a test, a message, a transformation waiting to happen. And when you begin to see pain as a gift, you become untouchable. Because the man who uses pain becomes stronger than the man who avoids it. The Stoic turns wounds into wisdom. He doesn't just survive the fire, he becomes it. This is the alchemy of the Stoic heart. Take what broke you and build from it, not despite it, but because of it. That's Amor Fati. Section 4. Loving the unlovable. Why acceptance is the real strength. In a world obsessed with fixing, changing, and escaping anything uncomfortable, the Stoic man does the unthinkable. He accepts, not because he's weak, not because he doesn't care, but because he understands one eternal truth. Epictetus said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well." This is Amor Fati in its purest form, not just tolerating the bad, but embracing it, loving it. It's easy to accept sunshine, but what about storms? It's easy to love praise, but what about criticism, betrayal, loss? Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means clarity. It means you stop fighting what is, because suffering isn't in the event, it's in your resistance to it. Let's look at modern life. You're ghosted by someone you trusted. You lose a job you were loyal to. Life throws illness, debt, failure at your feet. Most people collapse or complain, but the Stoic man breathes. He watches. He says, "This too belongs. I will make use of it." Because here's the truth. The man who fights reality loses 100% of the time. You can't control people. You can't control outcomes. You can't stop loss from knocking on your door, but you can control your response. And Amor Fati gives you the most powerful one of all, acceptance with purpose. This isn't surrender, it's redirection. She left? Good. Space to build something real. You failed? Good. Now, you know what not to do. You were wronged? Good. Now you know how not to treat others. Amor Fati is about shifting your mindset from victimhood to vision, from control to composure. It's not about making life easier. It's about making yourself stronger. When you stop needing everything to be perfect, you begin to find peace in imperfect. And when you can love even what hurts, you become truly untouchable. Because a man who accepts reality cannot be manipulated by it. That's real strength. That's Stoicism. That's Amor Fati. Section 5. Rejection is redirection. How to stop taking things personally. There's a silent killer of potential, peace, and masculinity in modern men. It's not failure. It's not pain. It's not even rejection itself. It's taking everything personally. In today's emotional battlefield, one text left unseen, one date canceled, one job turned down, and a man collapses. He questions his worth. He spirals into self-doubt. He rewinds every conversation trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? But Stoicism offers a different path, one that doesn't rely on approval, attention, or validation. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." The Stoic understands this. Rejection is not a mirror. It's a door, a detour, a redirection to somewhere more aligned with who you're meant to be. Let's break it down. A woman pulls away. Maybe her values don't match yours. Maybe her chaos would have derailed your purpose. That's not a loss. That's protection. A job slips through your fingers. Maybe it wasn't the environment where your potential would have thrived. That's not a failure. That's alignment. You didn't lose. You were redirected. Modern men have been conditioned to believe that rejection equals inadequacy. But Amor Fati transforms rejection into fuel. It says, "She left? Good. You were meant to rise alone. They said no? Perfect. Now you can build your own yes." Taking things personally is ego. It assumes that every event revolves around you. But a Stoic knows life unfolds with purpose far beyond your perception. You are not the center of the storm. You are the sailor, steering through it. And sometimes, the winds of rejection are the only thing that push your ship toward a better shore. Amor Fati teaches you to love that wind, to love the redirection, to trust that rejection is a sacred detour, not a divine punishment. So stop asking, why me? Start asking, what now? Don't take it personally. Take it powerfully. Because every no that you embrace without bitterness, every exit you accept with dignity, every closed door you bless, that's Stoicism in motion. And that's when life starts opening doors that were always meant for you. Section 6, Amor Fati and relationships. How to stay calm when people hurt you. Modern relationships are emotional minefields. Ghosting, betrayal, cold silence, misunderstanding. You give your best, and yet you're left confused, disrespected, or discarded. And what's worse, you blame yourself. But the Stoic doesn't collapse under the weight of someone else's chaos. He doesn't personalize others' behavior. He sees a storm and walks through it untouched. Marcus Aurelius said, "When someone does you wrong, immediately consider what notion of good or evil they acted on. Once you see that, you'll feel compassion, not anger." Amor Fati invites you to elevate, to look at the pain not as an attack, but as a lesson, not as a betrayal, but as a filter. Let's get real. People will project their pain onto you. They will misunderstand you, betray you, leave you on read. Sometimes they'll leave when you need them the most. But here's the Stoic truth. Their actions reflect their character, not your worth. You are not here to control others. You are here to master your response. Amor Fati doesn't mean you enjoy the betrayal. It means you don't allow it to poison your peace. You use it to become stronger, clearer, more self-possessed. Let her ghost you. Let him disrespect you. Let them walk away. Because if their absence brings you closer to your true self, it's a blessing in disguise. Stoics don't beg for closure. They create it with dignity, with silence, with forward motion. So next time someone hurts you, don't react. Don't rage text. Don't spiral. Don't stalk their socials. Do this instead. Breathe deeply. Say to yourself, this too is for me. Journal what you've learned, not about them, but about you. Redirect that emotional energy into your mission. People will come and go. Love will rise and fall. But your composure, that must remain. Because that's the mark of a powerful man in a chaotic world. He doesn't lose himself when others lose their loyalty. He stands, he reflects, and he walks forward with fire in his chest and peace in his eyes. That's Amor Fati. Section 7. How to use Amor Fati to overcome regret and guilt. Regret is a slow poison. It whispers, you should have done more. Guilt adds, it's your fault things fell apart. And together, they trap you in the past, stealing your present. But Stoicism has a weapon sharper than shame. It's called Amor Fati, the love of your fate. Epictetus said, don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. The Stoics didn't live in the what if, they lived in the what is. Here's what modern men don't realize. Regret is often the fantasy of control. We think if we had said something different, done something better, tried harder, things would have turned out perfect. But life doesn't reward perfection. It rewards presence. Regret is a refusal to accept that the past served a purpose. Amor Fati says, there's wisdom in your wounds. Let's look at 2 emotional traps most people fall into. Number 1, regret over missed chances. The girl you let go, the job you didn't take, the moment you didn't speak up. Amor Fati says, that door closed so something else would open. It wasn't a mistake. It was redirection. Number 2, guilt from bad choices. You messed up. You lied. Hurt someone. Sabotage your own progress. Amor Fati doesn't excuse the act, but it uses it. This was necessary for my awakening. Here's how to practice Amor Fati when regret hits you hard. Reframe the past. Say, this didn't happen to me. It happened for me. Find the lesson. Every mistake left a scar, but also a message. Extract it. Use it as fuel. Let your guilt be the fire that forges a better man, not the chains that keep him small. Close the loop. You can't rewrite history, but you can end the story with power. Finish it by being someone your past self would admire. Amor Fati frees you from perfectionism. It lets you breathe again. It teaches you that your darkest moments were not detours, but the exact path that brought you to strength. So stop fighting what's done. Start shaping what's next. Because a Stoic man doesn't drown in shame. He rises from it, with wisdom in his eyes and the past behind his shoulders. That's the freedom Amor Fati offers. Section 8. Amor Fati and career setbacks. Turning failures into fuel. You didn't get the job. You got fired. Your business failed. Your dream project collapsed. Now you're angry, anxious, and lost. You think, this wasn't supposed to happen. But the truth is, it had to. Because the Stoic doesn't just accept fate. He uses it. Marcus Aurelius said, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. That's Amor Fati in action. You want to become unbreakable? Then learn to treat every rejection, failure, or downfall as raw material. Fuel for your fire. Let's explore why career setbacks crush modern men, and how Amor Fati flips the script. The modern mindset, I failed, so I'm worthless. Society ties a man's value to his success, his job, his income, his wins. Lose those, and he loses his identity. That's why so many spiral after a layoff or rejection. They built their self-worth on a fragile foundation. The Stoic mindset, this too is part of the path. To the Stoic, failure isn't final, it's formative. It's the sculptor's hammer shaping his soul. You lost a job? Good. Now you can learn something that comfort never teaches. Now you can develop courage, clarity, and creativity under pressure. You didn't fail, you were reforged. How to apply Amor Fati to career failures. 1. Pause the panic. Breathe. This isn't the end. It's a sharp turn in the path, but the path continues. 2. Extract the essence. What was this experience meant to teach you? Maybe expose weak habits. Maybe it showed you your true passion. Maybe it just freed you from something that was never right. 3. Use the pain. Let the fear of failure become fuel. Let the humility of rejection sharpen your focus. Let the darkness become the forge of your reinvention. 4. Detach from titles. You are not your job. You are not your paycheck. You are what remains when all those things are stripped away. And that is where your power lives. 5. Act with discipline, not despair. Get up, reroute, build again. Amor Fati doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing everything with acceptance, not resistance. Every man faces career failure. Few use it to rise higher than before. The Stoic does. So when life punches your ambition in the face, don't cry. Smile. Say, I needed that. Because the Stoic doesn't just survive the fire, he becomes a fire. Section 9. Amor Fati in relationships, loving people without possessing them. Love them deeply, but do not cling. Cherish them, but do not control. Appreciate every moment, but do not demand permanence. That's the Stoic way. That's Amor Fati in relationships. Marcus Aurelius said, don't hanker after what you don't have. Instead, fix your attentions on the finest and best that you have, and imagine how much you would long for these if they weren't in your possession. Modern love is built on fear. Fear of losing them. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. But the moment you try to hold someone too tightly, you lose them, either literally or emotionally. You become needy. You become reactive. You become everything that suffocates love. And that's where Amor Fati becomes the most liberating and powerful philosophy a man can adopt his romantic life. The modern problem: possession disguised as passion. Let's be honest, most relationships today aren't based on love. They're based on ownership, expectation, and fragile validation. We say, "I love you," but what we mean is, "Don't ever leave me, don't ever change, don't ever do anything I don't like." That's not love. That's fear. And fear always leads to control, jealousy, and emotional manipulation. The Stoic response: love their fate too. Amor Fati teaches you to love their fate, not just your own. If they leave, if they change, if they betray, if they disappoint, you do not break. You feel, but you don't fall. You don't beg, chase, or blame. You accept it as necessary. You process the pain with strength, and you grow wiser, not weaker. How to practice Amor Fati in relationships. 1. Let go of control. You don't own them. You experience them. You love their presence, not their permanence. 2. Detach from outcomes. Whether they stay or leave, praise or ignore, your inner peace remains untouched. 3. Love with intention, not attachment. Be fully present, fully invested, but not dependent. 4. Accept change as natural. People grow. People shift. Amor Fati means embracing evolution, not resisting it. 5. Stay centered in yourself. Your worth isn't defined by how someone treats you. It's defined by how unwavering you remain when they do. This is the ultimate power. To be able to say, "I love you, I appreciate you, but I do not need to possess you to find peace." That is strength. That is Stoicism in its most beautiful form. You don't stop loving. You just start loving wiser. Because when you love someone without attachment, without trying to control them or cling to them, you become the kind of man who is loved back with freedom and respect. That's not weakness. That's mastery. And the Stoic man, he doesn't break when love fades. He simply whispers. Amor Fati. Section 10. The practice of Amor Fati, living it every day. How do you live Amor Fati every day? How do you not just understand the concept, but embody it in the chaos of modern life? You don't need perfect silence. You don't need a mountain retreat. You need one thing: presence of mind. That's Amor Fati. It's not just passive acceptance. It's creative transformation. You don't just endure events. You absorb them, convert them, and become greater through them. Modern life is constant fire, be the flame. Every day brings stress. You're stuck in traffic. Your boss disrespects you. Someone ghosts you. A business deal collapses. A friend betrays you. The weak man says, "Why me?" The Stoic man says, "Of course." This too is part of the path. And he burns hotter because of it. He lets every difficulty sharpen his character, every rejection refine his purpose, every failure forge his strength. This is daily Amor Fati in action. Here's how to live it every day. Lesson 1. Morning mental rehearsal. Each morning, before the world touches you, touch your mind. Visualize discomfort. Expect delay, rudeness, unfairness. Say to yourself, "Today, I may lose money, get criticized, or face conflict, and I am ready." Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, is the daily cousin of Amor Fati. Lesson 2. Turn setbacks into strength training. Treat emotional pain the way athletes treat physical resistance, as fuel for growth. Your heartbreak, a chance to train detachment. Your failure, a lab for patience. Your discomfort, a gym for self-discipline. The Stoic turns every fall into a step upward. Lesson 3. Reframe every why me into why not me Every time life punches you, say, why not me? Who better to handle this storm than someone who trains in calm? When you choose that mindset, you become powerful beyond imagination because you've stopped resisting life. You've merged with it. Lesson 4. Keep a nightly reflection journal. At day's end, ask, what tested me today? Where did I resist fate? What can I accept better tomorrow? This is how the Stoics became masters of themselves, not through theory, but through daily reflection and course correction. Lesson 5. Speak Amor Fati in your actions. You say, I love fate by how you act under pressure. When insulted, you remain calm. When plans collapse, you pivot with grace. When love leaves, you release with dignity. Amor Fati is not spoken, it's demonstrated. Amor Fati is not for the faint-hearted. It is not naive optimism. It's not fake positivity. It's radical acceptance married to radical responsibility. It says, this is happening. It's painful. It's mine. And I will grow because of it. That's not weakness. That's warrior-level peace. That's Amor Fati. Final Stoic advice. Become the man who loves it all. You are not here to avoid hardship. You are here to become unshakable through it. Amor Fati doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. You stop running from reality. You stop fearing failure. You stop needing perfection. Instead, you love what is, and by loving it, you master it. Because a man who says this too is good becomes a man who can handle anything. That's who you are becoming. So if this message spoke to you, subscribe to Stoic Desire right now. Because on this channel, we don't just talk philosophy. We live it. We train it. We become it. Stoic Desire is where discipline meets desire, where calm men conquer chaos. Let others complain. Let others react. Let others be broken by fate. You whisper one truth. Amor Fati.